Hey guys, it's Jamie. So I have had personal experience of living and being read as female and living and being read as male. For those of you who might be a little bit confused as to how this has occurred in my life, I am transgender. So basically I was assigned female at birth, but when I was 17 I came out as trans and I transitioned and started living full-time as male. Now I'm 23 and I've been on testosterone for nearly 6 years. Ooh. In the last 6 and a bit years since I started living as male, I have noticed some kind of subtle differences in the way I'm perceived, treated, spoken to, and what's kind of expected of me as compared to the 17 years when I was living as female. Well, not all 17. I can't really remember the early years very well. Just before I get started on the actual differences, I just wanted to point out that I am aware that most of them, actually all of them just boil down to people's stereotypes of men and women and how men and women should be different or should behave, that kind of thing. I don't condone any of that. These are just differences I've personally noticed over the years. So yeah, here are some differences. Ta-da! For starters, comments and reactions to my body have changed. If you guys hadn't already noticed, I'm a pretty skinny guy. And I'm a little bit above average height at 6'1", but the perception and the comments that I get about my body shape, my weight and my height have all changed quite a bit since I transitioned. So when I was living as female, I got a lot of comments about my weight, but they were all like positive. They were all kind of people being envious, people wanting my legs. Not literally, because that would have been really creepy, but you know, like my legs are quite long and thin, so people were like, oh, I want legs like yours. And as cringy as it sounds, people saying I should do modeling and just that kind of thing, and it always made me feel really uncomfortable. It was always seen as a really positive thing that I was so skinny when I was living as female. Since I started living as male, this has completely changed for the most part. A majority of the comments that I get about my weight are people being surprised at how skinny I am, people saying I'm too skinny to be attractive, I look weak, I look unhealthy, I really need to put on weight. In terms of my height, I didn't grow that much after I started testosterone. So there's a few years when I was a teenager and I was like 5'10" to 6 foot type of height and living as female. And genuinely used to be the first thing that people would say to me when they met me for the first time. And it was always very much like a, ooh, you're so tall. And people would ask me what my parents fed me when I was a child, whether they grew me in fertilizer or Miracle Grow, how tall my parents were, whether I had like inserts in my shoes or something, whether I would ever wear heels because I'm already so tall. Just loads of different comments and questions. Most of them were funny. It wasn't something that ever bothered me. Now, and I really don't mind at all, honestly, this is just as a comparison, people don't bring up my height at all in the same way, unless occasionally in like a trans context. So if people haven't met me in real life, but they know I'm trans, occasionally when I meet them for the first time face to face, I will get the odd comment about being tall. So yeah, that's it for the height and body stuff. Another thing that has changed is the way I'm spoken to. Apologies in advance, guys, this one might sound really vague and I can't quite put my finger on what has changed, but it's almost just like the general way that some people talk to me in certain situations. This isn't everybody or all situations. For the most part, it's fairly similar, but I've just noticed the odd change between how people speak to me now and how people spoke to me back before, pre-Jamie me. It's weird, I'm comparing me to me, but not me, but me. It's all very strange. I'm sorry if this is confusing. It was something I noticed more in the beginning, and it's been quite a long time that I can't really think of like specific examples for you guys, but it's just like the general way that I'm spoken to sometimes is different, and the only way I can put it is that it's a bit kind of more direct, particularly when other guys are speaking to me. Like I feel like when I was living as female, it was sometimes I was spoken to in a more like gentle but like patronizing kind of way, and now it's a little bit more like to the point, and I do feel in certain situations sometimes that I'm more respected and that my opinion is more respected and more listened to. I know how that sounds, but it's genuine things that I've noticed or that I've felt have happened, and it is something I've heard other people mention as well. I also know how fluffy it sounds, and like I feel like this one's quite an important point in terms of differences, and I'm really sorry I can't go more like specific, but that's about as good as I can do. Sorry. Thirdly, there are definitely different expectations on me now. This is definitely one of the more noticeable ones, and I'm not complaining going like, oh, now there are like loads more expectations on how I should behave because I'm living as male. It's not that, it's just that the expectations are different. So these things include stuff like emotional expression. I definitely feel like crying is less acceptable. Also, my responsibility as a partner. I feel like there are different expectations on me as a boyfriend as there would be for me as a girlfriend, if that makes sense. But even really small things like holding the door open, taking the lead in certain situations, ordering food at restaurants, it being a little bit strange that I do all the cleaning, stuff like that. And another one is being strong. This one kind of overlaps with the partner one because occasionally like there's been situations where there's heavy lifting involved, like moving a piece of furniture or something. And even though my girlfriend Shaba wants to help or wants to do it herself and has volunteered, other people have been like, no, the man does it, and then expected me to do it. And then a fourth one, and this will be the final one because this list could go on forever, but I don't want it to, is the way I sit. I sit in pretty much the same way I did before I transitioned, sometimes with my legs a little bit open, sometimes I cross my legs. I just sit however I find comfortable. When I was living as female, I got a lot of comments like, you shouldn't sit with your legs open, you should always cross your legs, like it's really inappropriate to have your legs open when you're sitting down. But now, no comments about sitting with my legs open, that's totally cool. But if I sit like cross-legged, occasionally, like this happened more so in the beginning, but like, you know, the occasional comment of like, why are you sitting like that? It's a bit strange, isn't it? It becomes so minute that there are like expectations on how people should sit depending on the gender they present as. As I said, the list goes on, but I don't want to bore you guys, so moving on. Finally, people crossing the road. This one might sound really obscure, but hold on, let me explain. You know that situation where it's late at night and you're walking on your own, feeling a bit nervous and a bit maybe unsafe, and you see somebody walking towards you on the same side of the road, so you cross the road. That's the situation I'm talking about. So when I was living as female, I used to be the person crossing the road, and now it's definitely like flipped, and I'm more often than not the person that people cross the road to avoid, which I understand why you would do that. I used to do it. It's just, if you're feeling unsafe in a situation or a bit nervous, take yourself out of it. And I generally don't really feel unsafe when walking by myself. Not that I really walk by myself that much, but whenever I do, I don't typically feel very unsafe, unless I'm in like a particularly scary situation, you know, like pitch black alleyway type situation. But apart from that, I feel a lot safer, and also just like a lot safer in general as well. I think this kind of goes onto a broader topic of like safety and stuff, but I did used to get catcalled occasionally when I was like 15, 16, as weird as that sounds. It did happen. Not happened once since I transitioned. Obviously, some of these things are very specific to me, and it's definitely not an exhaustive list of differences. It was just kind of like the main ones I could think of. Also, I am aware that they sound very cliche, and I know some of you will be sitting at home rolling your eyes going, yeah, right. They really did happen. These are like genuine differences that I've noticed in the way that I'm perceived and treated and spoken to. Don't think that any of these points were me moaning whatsoever, not at all, just observations. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you've experienced anything similar and just your general thoughts on the topic. Let's have a little discussion about it in the comments below. Also below in the description box, you will find social media links to various things like Instagram and Twitter. If you'd like to come and follow me on those, you can do. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Much love. Bye. You guys think I need to trim my beard? Let me know if I should. I'm kind of tempted to shave it off, but then I know I'm going to instantly regret that, so I'm not sure what to do. Help me.